there and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I'm going to be going through all of the books that I read in 2025. I read 62 books in 2025. 23 of them were physical, 31 were audio, and 8 of them were digital. The first book I finished in 2025 was Light Lark. Now I did read the entire Light Lark trilogy on my phone, but my friend loves this series and she has the physical copies, so for the sake of this I've got the physical copy. So I gave it 4.25 stars. The note that I put, so I'm going off of my reading journal, which you can learn about in my last video. I said interesting concept, was a bit bored until like the last 20%. I do like the series as a whole. It's not my favourite fantasy series. The second book I read is the last book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This one is Ruin and Rising. I gave it 3 stars simply because my dad and I watched the Shadow and Bone Netflix show, and I thought that season 1 would follow the first book, season 2 would follow the second book, and then season 3 would follow the third book. So when we had started watching season 2, I'd only finished the first 2 books. I hadn't finished the third book. They were talking about the Firebird, and I was like, the Firebird is the third book. So they could talk about this stuff, and I was like, by that point we were already like halfway through the season. I'm like, so that kind of annoyed me. So then like reading the third book after already like seeing what happens, I'm like, oh, I'm just not into it. So I only gave it 3 stars. I don't remember what I gave the other 2 because I finished those in 2024. The next book I read was the second book in the Light Lark series, Nightbane. I gave this 4 stars. So I rated it slightly less than Light Lark, but I still really enjoyed it. Grimm's just so much better. Like, I can't pronounce it Isla. Like, it just makes, like, when I'm trying to like read it and I'm pronouncing it Isla in my head, it just doesn't flow as nicely, so I say Isla. Apologies. Then the next 3 books I read, well, they're manga volumes, is volumes 6, 7 and 8 of Komi Can't Communicate, and then I listened to the audiobook for the third book in the Bridgerton series, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Colin's book. I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed the first 2, Daphne's story and Anthony's story. Loved them. Anthony and Kate are my favourite out of the couples we've seen so far. The next book I read is the third book in the Light Lark series. I gave this 4 stars, same as Nightbane. And I said, the ending, oh my god, thank god the next book comes out this year, because I really enjoyed it. And then I finished Shadow of Night, which is the second book in the Discovery of Witches series. I said, I gave this 4 stars. I said the history was cool, but it was a bit long. Like, it's a very long series in terms of, like, not a lot happening, but it's also like going back in time and like seeing history and stuff. So this one was a bit different for me, but I do plan to read the third book this year to finish off the trilogy. But the next book is Thanks for the Memories by Cecilia Ahern. I gave it 3.5 stars. Lost me halfway through. Why was the ending like that? I couldn't tell you what the ending was. I finished this book like the end of February. Couldn't tell you a single thing about it. And then I read Fourth Wing. I actually listened to the Fourth Wing audiobooks. Same with Quicksilver, I listened to the audiobooks for those series. I don't know what specifically made this not a 5 stars, but it was so close to a 5. And then I read Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I gave this 3.75. I wasn't actually going to continue with this series. After I read it, I was like, I think I read this on audio as well, I think. The note I wrote was okay, Scarlett pissed me the fuck off, probably won't continue. Because she was just so stupid. Like, going into Caraval, they literally tell you everything's a game, don't believe everything you see. And then like the next chapter, she sees something and she's like, oh my god, my dad's gonna hear about this or whatever. And it's like, they just told you it's not real. Like, she was just so dumb and pissed me off. But since then I have listened to the second one, and I liked it a little bit more, I think simply just because it wasn't about Scarlett. It was about Donatella. Donatella is kind of stupid as well, but not as stupid as Scarlet, so I didn't hate it as much. I gave Legendary 3 stars, and I gave Caraval 3.75. I don't know. I don't have it with me, but I've read a book in the Riverdale, like, series by Mikol Osto. I gave it 3.25. And the note just says it's just like the show, because this one was about the plot in season 3 when, like, oh, I think it was season 3, probably maybe season 4, I don't know, where Archie is like framed for murder. So the next 2 books are Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. I gave Iron Flame 4.25 and I gave Onyx Storm 4.5. So in order of how I rated it, it goes Fourth Wing, Onyx Storm, Iron Flame. So in the notes for Iron Flame, I said not as good as the first one, but still good. And then for Onyx Storm, I wrote, this is in capitals, by the way, why did it end like that? Exclamation point, exclamation point. I need the next book now, exclamation point, exclamation point. And we're not getting another book until like 2027, so. And then I started my journey reading the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So my next 2 reads were The Naturals and Killer Instinct, the first 2 books in that series. I gave The Naturals 4.5 and I gave Killer Instinct 4.25. The Naturals, I said, didn't see that plot twist at all, excited to continue. And obviously I was excited because the next book I just jumped straight into Killer Instinct. And the only note I have is Dean with a heart. And then I read the last book in the Powerless series. This is one of my favorite fantasy series. I gave the first book, Powerless, 5 stars. I gave Reckless like 4.25. I gave the novella between Powerless and Reckless, I think 4.5. What is it? Powerful, I think I gave 4.25. I haven't yet read the Fearful novella, but honestly I don't really care about the plot because it's about Kit's mum, I think, and like I don't really care. But anyway, I gave this 5 stars. I think this is the first book I annotated of the year. So I gave it 5 stars. I'm not going to read out what my note was because it is a spoiler for the series, but I cried for the last like probably 50 pages of this book. The next book I read is one that was a buddy read, and we are currently working through the second book, but we haven't touched it in about like 9 months at this point. And I've said, well, I need to say to them, hey, if you guys are not planning to read with me, I'm just going to read on and keep like continuing with the series because I do want to finish it. So it is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I annotated the flying fuck out of this book. I gave it 4 stars. And in the notes, I said fuck Tamlin. The next book is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I did actually originally annotate this, but it was for my friend for her birthday because she had read this like a month before. And she was like, oh my god, this is the best book, you guys need to read it. So I did read it, I annotated it, and I gave it to her for her birthday. I gave it 4.75. This was in the top reads for me for the year. This is kind of a spoiler, so maybe just skip to like when you can't see the picture in the corner here. I said love Blackwell, hated his reveal, would have been a 5-star, because when they revealed that, what the fuck is the guy's name called? Yeah, like when it was revealed that Blackwell was, I don't actually remember who the fuck, like Raven or something. I wish I had my annotations because you'd be able to see it. Yeah, when it was like realized that Blackwell was like the person behind everything or something like that, I just, like, it made sense, but I was just not happy with it. So it would have been a 5 stars if that was done a little differently. And then I read Butcher and Blackbird. I don't have the edition with me because that's one that we are doing a buddy read kind of differently. So I read the first book, annotated it, and then I gave it to the next person. They're going to annotate it. But I gave it 4.5. I really enjoyed it, and that's what I said in the notes. I just said, really enjoyed. I thought the smut scenes were done quite well. And then I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Watching the Shadow and Bone show, I knew that like the Shadow and Bone show had Shadow and Bone, the trilogy, as well as the Six of Crows duology and King of Scars duology. I don't know, but I said liked it way more than Shadow and Bone. Just, I don't know why, and it's It's found family, which I don't read too much of, but I loved it so much. Like, Crooked Kingdom has the potential to be 5 stars. Like, this was 4.5, and I really enjoyed it. The next book I read is a children's book. It is Just Crazy by Andy Griffiths. And then I read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is obviously a massive book. I read this on audio. The voice actors for Ceres and Kingfisher are just out of this world. Like, like the Kingfisher voice actor, like, he lives in my head rent free. I gave this 4.75, so this, Phantasma, and Fourth Wing were up there in my, like, my top 5 reads. Like, those 3 are my 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I loved it. And since then, Brimstone has come out, and it's been announced that the 3rd book, don't know what the 3rd book's gonna be called, comes out next year, or like this year. The next book is one that took me 5 months to read. It's The Liar's Crown by Abigail Owen. Didn't like, I don't know, just, I finally got through it, but I gave it 3 stars just because it took me so long to read. I probably should have DNF'd it, but it was also just at the point where I was like, I'm just gonna get through it. And then I read The Crying Tree by Nassim Rakha. I gave it 3 stars. And in the notes, I wrote boring on boring, because it just like, I don't know. I just, like, you just go to an op shop and you buy a bunch of books. I think it was one of those. And then I read Dagger in the Flame. I loved it when I listened to it. I loved it, and I was so excited for the 2nd book. And I read the 2nd book because it came out this year, or like 2025. I gave it 4.25. I'm pretty sure I gave the 2nd one 4.5. We'll get to it. Like, the concept of it was just so cool, and the voice actors were really good. I loved the vibe. Like, the guy's name is Ransom, which is kind of random, but so if there's gonna be like a 3rd and 4th book or whatever in the series, I'm down to read it. Like, I don't know which one this is, but one of the books in the Artemis Fowl series, this one is Eternity Code. I read like 3 of them last year. Eternity Code, I gave it 3 stars. Like, I don't rate the Artemis Fowl books very highly, just because they're the ones that I just listen to it on audio while I'm at work, and it's just like such background noise, and like I just don't. And then I read Pucking Around. It's one that I would have on my shelf, but I mean, we do have smutty books on the shelf, but Pucking Around is a whole nother level, and I'm like, I don't really want like my roommates, like nieces and nephews, to come and like grab a book and read it and it be Pucking Around. So I've just kept it separate, but I gave it 5 stars. It's the 2nd book I gave 5 stars in 2025. Or the 2nd and last book I gave 5 stars. And then I read Collide by Bal Cabra. I also read Spiral by Bal Cabra, like back to back. Oh, I gave both of them 4 stars actually. And I listened to them on audio, and I really enjoyed it. I do want to get like the special editions where it has like the sprayed edges of like their names. Apart from, like, I read Pucking Around right before I started Collide, and Pucking Around was the first hockey romance book I think I read. So like, I just wanted to kind of like continue with that. And then Spiral, I said, not sure if I liked this more than Collide, but I did really vibe with both of them, so I just gave them both 4 stars. And then I started a 6-book series. I listened to it all on audio because it was just available from Libby, and I've never actually seen these books before. I was just looking for an audiobook and I found this, and I was like, oh, 6-part series. I don't know if I rated a single one of these books 4 stars, but I really enjoyed them, if that makes any sense. It is the Bonds That Tie series. It's quite smutty. It is 1 girl, 5 guys. Not at the same time, 2 of them are brothers, but it's like everyone has a bonded, or like everyone is bonded, like genetically bonded to people, and there's always like a central bond, and then usually numerous amounts of other people. But it's not just like a female central bond, like there can be a male central bond, it just depends. So she's the central bond in the group, and then the other 5 are bonded to her, but like in order to complete the bond, you have to like, basically they just have to fuck to complete the bond. I gave the first one, Broken Bonds, 3.75. I said bit cringe, but Def's gonna keep reading. It was very repetitive, like throughout the whole thing. It's like she would say these things that just like appear 1,000 times in each book. But I started and finished the entire series in 2025, so can't really complain. The next book is All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, the third book in the Natural series. I gave this 4 stars. Like, I just love this series so much. Like, the Criminal Minds aspect is so good, and it like made me really want to go back and like watch more of the show. The next one is another like random audiobook I found on YouTube. It's Faking It with the Billionaire. It's Willow Fox and Alison West. This is a hockey romance. I gave it 3 stars, and I said not my fave hockey romance, but it wasn't bad. It's just one of the ones that like I couldn't tell you anything that happened. And then I read another Artemis Fowl book, The Opal Deception. I think The Opal Deception is like the 4th one or something. I don't know. I gave it 3 stars, and in the notes I wrote, it's whatever. And then another hockey romance, Against the Boards by Cynthia Gunderson. Gave it 3 stars. Notes said average. Like, it's just... And then I read Red Queen, actually. I do have Red Queen. I read the first one physically, and then I also read the second book in the series. I listened to that one on audio. I gave this 4.25, and there was something that happened at the start of the book, and I was like, nah. I was like, this person is not gone. Like, they're coming back. They're coming back. And did they come back? Yes, I was right. Because this is very much Powerless, because Powerless kind of ripped off this series, and I love Powerless, so I knew I was going to vibe with this. There was a plot twist that happened with one of the guys, and it honestly really got me. Like, I didn't expect it. Usually I'm pretty good at like sussing out plot twists. This one I did not see coming. The second book in the Bonds That Tie series, Savage Bonds, I gave it 3.25, and then in the notes it just says slay. So I'm assuming there was a lot of smut in it, because these books are quite smutty, and that would be the one reason I would reread them. And then I read the second book in the Red Queen series, but I read it, I listened to it on audio. I gave it 3.75. I wrote, got a bit bored, but I think it's just middle book syndrome, similar to Iron Flame. I kind of felt similar with Iron Flame. It's just like, same with Reckless actually, from the Powerless series. And then I decided I would do a reread of the Summer I Turned Pretty series, because the show came out and I wanted to reread the books before the 3rd season came out. Love the audiobooks because they're narrated by the actors in the show. Love that. I know when I first read the books, I loved Jeremiah. Like, I was team Jeremiah. What the fuck? What was I thinking? Conrad is obviously the good choice, and after watching the show is better than the books, in my opinion. Christopher Briney is such a good fucking actor. Anyway, the first book I gave 3.5 stars, and I said, so excited to reread, why was I ever hashtag Team Jeremiah? Lol. You and me both, sister. I don't know. And then I read the 3rd book in the Bonds That Tie series, Blood Bonds, gave it 3 stars. I said, really hope they kill that freak soon. I'm assuming it's talking about the guy that like... So the person talking about is the one that tortures Oleander. And then I read the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I gave it 4.5 as well. I mean, 4.5. 3.5 as well. Like, and then in capitals I wrote, why did I like Jeremiah? And then I read the last full book in the Natural series, Bad Blood. There's also a novella at the end of this, but I rated it separately so I could have an extra book on my book count. Gave it 4.75. I said, the ending, sad face. I know why Sam cried now. Sam, being my friend that read the series before me, she said that this book absolutely made her cry, and I was like, I don't really get why. And then when I read the part, I was like, oh, I know why you cried now. And then I listened to a random audiobook that I found on Libby, The Last Murder at the End of the World. I quite liked it. It was quite interesting. It was just kind of... It was very different to what I usually read. I gave it 4.25. And I keep saying 4. I gave it 3.25. In the notes I said it was an interesting concept, because it was. It was just, there was a lot of characters and a lot of names and just a lot going on, and I was like, I can't focus on what's happening because I would listen to it at work. And then I read the last book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, We'll Always Have Summer. I gave it 4 stars. So in the time between me reading it the first time and me reading it the second time, it's gotten an extra star. I love Conrad, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then another book like Phantasma, my friend was like, I read this book, I really fucking love it. I started reading it, it's called The Rose Bargain, gave it 4.5. I read this digital, or on audio. It's a concept I've never really seen before, like at least I haven't. I'm so excited for the next one. I don't know when the next one's coming out. It might be in 2026, hopefully. But I said, love the premise, excited for the next one, which I am. And then we have the 4th book, I think, in the Artemis Fowl series. This one is The Lost Colony. Gave it 3 stars. In the notes, I said nothing special because the series is nothing special. And then I have 12, which is the novella that is in that. Oh, you can't see that. I gave it 3.5. It was not necessary. We did not need to have that novella. Like, if it just was the 4 main books, beautiful. Like, we didn't need the novella at all. I read kind of like a Bridgerton-esque story. There's like 8 sisters or something, and it's like a huge series. You know, if I need an audiobook, I can just go through and listen to those. But it's Grace. It's the Shacklebolt Sisters series. I gave it 3 stars. I said mid version of Bridgerton, but will definitely continue. Just because if I'm feeling like I need that like Regency, like period drama type vibe, I will listen to these. And then I have another one of the Riverdale books. This one is The Maple Murders. I gave it 3 stars, and then in the notes I just said it's whatever. And then I listened to the 4th book in the Bonds That Tie series, Forced Bonds. I gave it 3.5 stars. And I'm going to say a spoiler, so just skip to when this picture is on the screen. I said, about time Knox joined the party, because Knox is the one that's, you know, like the dark, broody one, like obviously it's going to be like an enemies to lovers type thing. So I'm so happy that he finally got his shit together and like they bonded, and then now like they're all bonded and like they all have the power and whatever. And then I read Sunrise on the Reaping, which gave it 4.5. I loved this book. I loved it. So I didn't really fuck with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes that much. I didn't even like the movie that much. But because like who gives a fuck about President Snow? I surely didn't. But this one, I care about Haymitch. This is so fucking sad. This is such a sad book. I'm pretty sure I did cry. The shit that happens in this book, like no wonder why Haymitch is a drunk when like you get to the actual like Hunger Games series. Makes so much sense. So excited for this. The movie comes out in November. Yes, I'm gonna be there. Like the shit that he sees, and then it's literally like he's in the Hunger Games. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but he's in the Hunger Games, and then it's like, you know, shit happens in the Hunger Games, and then he gets home, shit is still happening. Like it's like one thing after another. So holy, like, yeah, it makes sense why he has a fucking alcohol dependency. And then I listened to the 1st book in the Windy City series, Mile High, because someone I watch here on YouTube, Kendall Watson, go check her out if you haven't, like I love that bitch. She loves this series. And my Libby only has Mile High and The Right Move, which is, I believe, the 1st and the 4th book. And like it's an interconnected standalone series, so you can read them out of order. I'm not one of those people that do that, so I'm gonna wait until my Libby has the 2nd and 3rd book, or the 2nd and 4th book, whichever one they're missing. I'll wait until those come out and actually listen to them in order. But I listened to the 1st one, gave it 4 stars, really loved it. Like, I love Stevie so much. Then we have the 5th book in the Bonds That Tie series, Tragic Bonds, gave it 3.75. So far, none of the books have gotten 4 stars. And then in the notes, all I said was nearly done, because it's very repetitive. Like the smut scenes are quite good, but the story itself and like the dialogue is just very like the same. And then I read The Rebel and the Rose, which is the 2nd book in the Dagger and the Flame series. I gave it 4.5. I said loved it even more than the 1st one. Spoiler, so again, when you see this picture come off the screen, yep. Her being a saint maker was a shock. Like where did that come? I'm happy for it, but like I was shocked. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? She's a saint, she can make saints. What do you mean? Anyway, so excited for the third one, if there is a third one, I don't remember, whatever. Next, I read The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. This was one of those other random op-shop books. I gave it 4 stars. I did really like it, but there was one part I was like, that didn't really need to happen. Like, she literally gets SA'd in the book, and she's like 14 or something. Like, I didn't need to see that. So if that scene wasn't in it, it would have been rated a little bit higher, but I could only settle on a 4. I'm like, I can't rate it any higher than that. And then we have the last book in the Bonds That Tie series, Unbroken Bonds, gave it 3.5. And then I said, happy to be done with the series. So I didn't hate the series. It was a nice, like, kind of like a palette cleanser, because, like, yeah, it's dark and there's like magic and killing, and then I read The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings because my roommate was begging me for ages. As soon as she finished it, she was like, you need to read this. I was like, okay. Gave it 4.25. I said kind of predictable, because there was like multiple things that would happen like near the start of the book, and I would say to my roommate, because I was like updating her on where I was at, I was like, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and then all of it ended up happening because it was kind of predictable. And then I read Brimstone, which is the second book in the Quicksilver series. It's so good. I said, thank God the next book comes out next year. I gave Brimstone a little bit less than Quicksilver, because Quicksilver has that enemies to lovers, I hate you, get out of my realm type shit. And then the second book is they're already in love, so it doesn't have that, like, you know, it doesn't have that because they're already together. So I rated it a little bit less than Quicksilver, but. And then I read Grimm and Oro. So I got this beautiful edition. It was $45, but it's the first, like, special edition type thing that I've ever bought. And, like, just look at it. Like, it is gorgeous. I love it. I gave it 4.5. I actually found myself tearing up at a couple points in Oro's perspective, and I was like, what is this? Like, I found myself liking Oro. I just love Grimm too much to, like, fully enjoy Oro. If they did it, if Alex did it, there was an Oro book and a Grimm book. The Oro book would have probably gotten 4.5, and then the Grimm book probably would have gotten like a 4.75 or a 5-star, because you really just see into their head. The next book I read was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. It's the, I can't be bothered getting it down, the second book in the Caraval series. I gave it 3 stars, and I said I still don't really like the series. Since there's only one more book, Finale, I will read it. And then I think there's also Spectacular, which is like I don't know if it's a spin-off or it's like, I don't know. It's part of the world. I just don't know if I have to necessarily read it as Caraval. And then my last 2 reads of the year was Crown Tide, the last book in the White Luck series. Gave it 4.25. Because it's the most recent book I finished, I will be going into spoilers. So whenever you don't see this picture on the screen, you can come back. Why the fuck did Cronin erase Grimm's memories? He didn't just erase them, he obliterated them. I'm assuming there's gonna be a way to get it back. There has to be. There's no way in the 5th book, the last book I think, and I'm pretty sure it's called Heartblade, because right at the end of the book they talk about the Heartblade, and that's the blade that Isla has to use to kill either Grimm or Oro. Pretty sure that's what the 5th book is called, and if it is, that's pretty sick. So I can also imagine like the cover page. But you can see it while reading it, that he still loves her, and his body, like his shadows literally and like save her in multiple situations, and he's like, why are they doing that? Because your body knows. Like, you may not have memories of her, but your body still, your subconscious still is in love with her. And that's what was killing me during Crown Tide. Like, what the fuck? And I couldn't tell my housemate about it because she hasn't fucking read it. So I was just like fucking rocking backwards and forwards like, oh my god. I think Isla's gonna kill herself. I don't know how that's gonna work because obviously Isla and Grimm have the death link thing, death bond, whatever the fuck it's called. The death thing. So like Oro is the only one that should die because if Isla dies, Grimm dies. And if Grimm dies, Isla dies. Unless Cronin like erasing his memories got rid of that, but I really don't think so. I think like once he realizes or like not remembers, but like once that bond comes back, the death thing will still be intact. So like if Oro's not the one to die, it doesn't really make sense. Like I think either Oro has to die because Grimm and Isla, like they're fucking married. They're married. Like if like this bond thing, if this death bond thing wasn't a thing, Isla's gonna kill herself. Like that's what I think is gonna happen. She's gonna save the men in her life that she loves by killing herself. That's how I think this is gonna end. Or it's gonna be some bullshit plot armor, whatever, where they figure out a way to break the prophecy and she doesn't have to kill anyone. Which is probably what's gonna happen. That's like number one, what's gonna happen. Number two is that Isla's gonna kill herself, and number three is that she just kills Oro. That's, I think, what's gonna happen. So, I am excited for the 5th book though, but fuck me. Yeah, that is the 62 books I read in 2025. Here's hoping that I reach all of my reading goals for this year. My main reading goal is just to read all of the 26 books in 2026, like the books that I have on my 2026 TBR, which you will see in my next video, which will be me doing my 2026 reading journal setup. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe to my channel to see more from me. Turn on post notifications to be notified of whenever I upload next. Thanks for watching.